New this afternoon, a tropical depression forming off the Florida coast.
Yeah, meteorologist Matt Barentine is tracking developments today. He's in the studio right now. And Matt, this just seems to have just kind of popped up.
Pretty much did, guys. That's exactly what happened. We were watching this over the weekend, but it didn't look like it was going to develop. But today, it found itself a little window of opportunity, and this little system has become an overachiever and has grown into now a tropical depression this afternoon. It went from 10% chance of development to 30% this morning to 60% in the afternoon. Then around 4 o'clock, the Hurricane Center said, hey, it's become a tropical depression now with winds of 30 miles an hour, moving off to the northwest at around 13 miles an hour. That's going to take it right up along the east coast of Florida, and then eventually it's going to be absorbed by a cold front that is diving to the south. So here's where it's at right now, and the winds can really kind of tell you where it's at, because you can see how they bend around, and it's right in through here where we're starting to get a bit of spin, and that is where the center now of what is tropical depression number 3 is located. It's headed towards the east coast of Florida. It's going to start running into, like, remember I said, there's a little window of opportunity here for it to develop. That window pretty much closes by tomorrow, so it's going to make it very hard for it to develop further into a tropical storm. But if it manages to, it'll be Chantal. But here's what the issue is going to have. It's going to eventually run into this front that is north of us. That's going to be moving to the south. Let me show you how that looks. So there's the system right now. And as we go through Monday and on into Tuesday, it's going to be hugging the east coast of Florida. Look at all that rain out there with this system. And then we get to Tuesday, and here comes the cold front diving to the south. A lot of rain for us, which has zero to do with this tropical system. And then as we get into Wednesday, the system is absorbed into this front, spreading rain up the Carolinas and eventually moving this thing out to sea. So here's the deal. This system can't jump over this front. So it's not coming anywhere near us. And once again, we'll have no impacts from this with us. We're going to be getting all the impacts simply from that front as it moves on down. So here's what the headlines are for tropical depression number 3. Obviously, it formed quickly today. Probably just wondering, well, where did this come from? It's going to be wet for the Florida east coast and parts of the Carolinas, but then it gets absorbed by a front by Wednesday and been moved back out to sea. So no worries for tropical depression number 3, even if it does manage to become Chantal. We'll just keep tracking it for you.